Welcome to the neighborhood where Louis Armstrong lived. Louis moved here in the 1940s and stayed here until he died in 1971.
He loved his working-class neighborhood in Corona, Queens, where there were always kids hanging out and playing, as they are today.
This is not the story of Louis, who appears here in one of the collages he made on his home recording tapes. For the story of Louis, one of America's and music's great creatives, we heartily recommend that you visit the Louis Armstrong House website at www.louisarmstronghouse.org.
And when the pandemic recedes, by all means come and visit his house, that is now a museum. When you come down the street in Corona, Queens, you'll find his house, clad in red brick, a simple two-story neighborhood house with a lovely garden that Louis and his wife Lucille built in a lot next door.
And if you can only make it by late 2021 or after, your visit will start in the new archives and visitors building across the street. The building consolidates a diverse set of programs run by the museum into one campus. The world-class archival collection and research facilities currently housed at Queens College will now be just across the street from Louis's house. The new visitor center is currently under construction, and we invite you to join us on this tour of the job site, plus a little bit of information on how the building was designed. In 2006, we, Caples Jefferson Architects, were selected after competing with 43 other firms to design the new visitor center on the lot across the street from Louis's house. Well, across the street, but slightly diagonal from Louis's front door.
So the new building needs to inflect towards Louis's house to engage the visitor in the dialogue between the building that's about Louis's work and the building that's about his home life.
And how do we accomplish that? The first thing is to keep the building at the scale of the neighbors, just 2 stories, yet also visible as a gem, as something special, like this man it celebrates.
The second way is to curve the facade, to gently twist it so the 2 entrances face each other, and to twist the canopy above so that it shelters the front door as you enter the new building through the shallow forecourt created by the facade's inward inflection.
The third way is to select a material that evokes Louis and the golden brass of his cornets and trumpets.
And as you develop that abstraction, it starts to turn into a curtain wall with a brass canopy glowing by day and by night.
This facade going up will soon be filled with a special glass. The brass of the glass is an embedded bronze mesh, suspended within the glass, providing security and filtering the sunlight into this sustainable building. And here in the yard, a mock-up of the glass wall to set a standard of construction for the workers, and a final confirmation that you can still see within, so that you would see through to this mural as we conceived it during the final presentation model, and as it has been commissioned from artist Rico Gaston.
We are very conscious of the fact that this building could stand for 100 years or more.
So it's all the more important that all facades of this sustainable LEED Gold building give joy to its occupants and neighbors, while it responsibly stewards the resources that went into its construction. An example is the green roof.
Considered from the get-go, the green roof over the first floor is tilted so that the folks on the second floor workroom can see the flowers.
And the boxes that you can see under construction will house skylights that illuminate the jazz education room below them. One of the most important sustainable strategies is to suffuse all spaces for work and meeting with natural light, the big exceptions being the exhibit and archival storage areas, where daylight could damage the delicate tapes and paper materials. The blue bars on this plan diagram map out the strategy of bands of daylight within, with the widest bar representing a daylit 2-story atrium that connects the first floor public spaces with the second floor staff and research space. And this model shows the long skylights along both sides of the building that help illuminate all the workspaces on the second floor.
Since sustainable skylights need to be shaded to let in just the right amount of light, We chose different colors of shading material to intensify the natural light qualities. This north-facing skylight can be clear, giving the light a natural blue cast, both when looking out and when looking at this light cast on the floor.
The south-facing skylight gets a warm colored film that emphasizes rosy golden tones, both when looking out and when looking at the light cast on the floor.
And when you'll be standing looking at the daylight on the porch, you'll be able to look towards Louis's neighbors and pan to the area around his house and look back to his home and study and to the garden and back inside the visitors building to the spaces illuminated by the sidewall skylights.
So how does a building like this come together? Of course, there's the literal coming together as shown in this time-lapse of the construction from the beginning to the present. It takes a long time to create waterproof foundations on rock, on a tight urban site, and to come out of the ground. And there's mounting excitement when the cranes bring in the steel and the structure goes up. And now the building is being closed in, and soon the interiors will start to take form. So right now, this wall framing might not look like a lot, but there has been a lot of design consideration that will make it feel very specific soon.
Back to those plan diagrams. On the upper diagram, the first floor plan is in 3 zones. From left to right, the lobby, the exhibit area, and the jazz club.
So you enter the lobby, go through the exhibit area that you'll see in a changed, more developed form in a minute,
and end up in the jazz room where you can see live music or movies about Louis and his living musical legacy. And at the bottom of the page, the second floor plan is similarly zoned into 3 areas, reading from left to right, with the offices facing Louis's house, in the middle the vast archival collection of recordings, manuscripts, and personal artifacts, along with a reading room for visiting researchers. And in the back, the conservation workrooms overlooking the flowering green roof that covers the jazz room.
And before construction begins, everything is planned out, from materials for each space to the outlets and the signage.
And, of course, to the heart of the visitor experience, the exhibits designed by C&G Partners.
Whether images and artifacts encased in the wall or in the interactive turntable that allows you to take a deep dive into Louis's life and music.
Because, in the end, it's all about extending the visitor's appreciation of Louis Armstrong, the man and the music.